In what kind of moments do you actually limit yourself, and when can you turn it around and empower yourself? And I want to give you a concrete example that I experienced a couple of days ago. I was clearing my storage because I wanted space, and there's lots of stuff there that can be thrown away and also looked at and seen, okay, do I want to keep it or do I want to ditch it? And I found stories that I wrote when I was 10 years old. And I was amazingly creative. I had fantasy. I was writing stories that were really with unlimited possibilities. And I remember I enjoyed it a lot. Then there came a time when my teacher corrected these, and he did not pay attention to the fantasy. He just paid attention. Actually, let me correct myself here. The storyline was acknowledged, and it was also, all the spell mistakes, they were also with these red sticks. It was in there, and it was quite full. And I got that back, and I was like, And that limited me, in fact, to write again, because I had this red stick in my mind. And I could at that time not so easily separate between the creativity and the imagination, which is completely different than if it's written correctly, and if the grammar and the orthography and the commas and all that formal frame, that was actually, that these are two separate things. Hence, I stopped writing these stories for quite a long time. And luckily, I rediscovered it. And I do write again. And I don't bother so much. I mean, I don't bother so much when I'm writing about grammar, because then I have like two things in my head. And creativity and judgment, they just don't go together. They're like water and oil. So in order to be creative and not limit yourself, you need to just write along and not care about if it's correct or not, because that's a step that can come way later, and then you can cut and edit and throw away and ditch your darlings and stuff. So coming back to that story, I picked up the writing again, and then I was sharing that story with my son, and he is very wise. And he's also dyslexic, so he knows a lot about how the form of writing can be totally different from what other people expect it to be. And he didn't say anything. He just gave me a look. And I understood that look. And we didn't need to talk, so it was actually great, because I knew what he wanted to say. And I knew what he wanted to say, and that was like, don't let yourself be stopped by that. And I actually totally agree. Of course, I know that, but sometimes I need to remind myself. And now for this example, I want to ask you if you can relate to this story, to this example. And maybe it sparks and triggers some other story or some event in your life where you also felt that you limited yourself, and maybe also how you got rid of that block. There are many, many more examples. This is about writing, creativity, and editing, judgment. And we do that in many other ways. So I'm going to tell more about that in a next video with a different subject line.